In this tutorial video, I show you how to create a bokeh effect background using PanPastel. Hi everyone, welcome to this, which is actually part 3 of a series of tutorial videos covering the creation of a whole portrait of a golden retriever. But this one will be a standalone video as well, which will show how we're going to create a bokeh effect background. Now this is the original reference photo here. I hope you can see it. I'll pop it up on the screen for you anyway, but what we're going to be aiming to achieve is the bokeh effect. So yeah, those little round lights amongst the greenery in the background of a picture. You can sometimes call it in photographs. We're going to be doing this using PanPastels. So I've actually separated out, we're not going to use all of these, but I've just separated out all of the colours that I can see in the original reference. So I've got all those in a tray ready to work with. Just pop those down to one side a second. Okay, so we're also going to be using a soft art sponge. This is the big oval. Let me just cut that one out of the packaging. So the big oval, obviously the bigger the sponge is, the bigger the area that we can cover. I'm also going to be using one of the art bars as well, one of the rounded art bars, and then later on we're going to come in with our soft tools. Now I've got some spares of my sponge covers, that one already lined up as well. So off to one side, I've just got a sheet of tissue paper as well, which I can clean my sponge off with. Get all my tools lined up, and then of course we're going to be using this later on as well, which is our stencil. This is a Koh-i-Noor one, so we're going to be using this, literally overlaying and dabbing with our sponge later on to get more of a circular effect with our bokeh. I've done it freehand before, but this time we're going to be using the tool as a bit of a guide. So first thing I want to do is get some coverage down all over the area. So I'm looking at my reference. I'll pop the reference, like I say, up on the screen for you guys as well. I'll say here on a previous video I've already got my line drawing down. This is actually, let me flip this back over, this is actually a golden retriever portrait that I'm doing, but I wanted to change the background. So the actual dog itself is not only the whole line drawing down, but then I've done another little video showing how I've used Frisket. That's what you can see, the shine here is the Frisket reflecting. I've actually masked off the dog so that I then can come in liberally with my PanPastels without worrying that they're going to dirty up my main subject too much. So I'm just getting my reference photo off to one side, and then I'm going to get my PanPastels, and then I'm going to look to see which colours go where, and first of all get a nice base down. So I'm going to go in quite dark first of all. It's quite a dark area up here, like I say, you've got the reference there, and then we're going to lay the circles, the colours of circle, down over the top. So all we want down initially is our lovely dark base. So I'm going to come in first of all with our Phthalo Green Extra Dark, this one here. I don't know all my colours off by heart yet, but getting there. So a nice sweep across the sheet, and then I'm going to come in up here, and all I do is dab and a slight twist as I go, just to start getting some pigment down. Just move it the other way as well. So again, another sweep, pick up the pigment, and then dab it into place. So I'm going to work this all over. I need to darken a tiny bit of it. I will mix a little bit of black in just to darken it up even more. I've also got another dark green there next door, which is the Chrome Oxide Green Extra Dark as well. So we'll pop some of that one in. It does change tone. There's also a little bit of bluiness in there. So what I've done, like say when I do my colour selection for something like this, is I pretty much pick up all the colours I can see and then possibly a couple of alternatives. So I might not use everything. I've got how many here? 3, 6, 9, 12, 13 here. I might not use all of these, but I've got them there to hand, ready to go. As I say, I've already done a tutorial video on YouTube that's very popular, which was the Bokeh effect blue background, which is just quite a fun background with the Mocha Pup Brown Chestnut Spaniel as the main subject, and I wanted just sort of like a fun, bright, colourful background for him. There's also another one on there I've done with a horse portrait, which is a little bit moodier. So this one we're going to take, let's say, a little bit more time with this one. So it does form part of a full tutorial on the whole of the Golden Retriever. So again, all I'm doing is press, slight twist, and just pushing the pan into the pastel mat. The pastel mat we use, I'm using a sand colour, and you see down here, because I've put in this lovely protective layer of the frisket film, I can just go over that edge now without having to worry at all about preserving anything. Okay, this is off screen a tiny little bit. I will adjust the camera later when we start to put in detail. I've literally just dabbed a little tiny bit down the bottom there, and the same over this side. So I'm using the reference as a guide. Obviously the reference has got a peacock, beautiful peacock, which I sort of hope to draw at some point. But I say I could have, for the tutorial for the Retriever, just done a, or just left it a plain background, or done a soft tonal background. But for the full tutorials I create, I try to incorporate as much learning as I can into each one. So I decided just this would be the occasion to bring in and create this lovely bokeh. Okay, so I'm going to sweep some of that other green next door to that. So that's the Chrome Oxide Green Extra Dark, just to see what it's going to go down like. Might not be, yeah, that works well actually. That brings those two together nicely. Just adjusting my reference there. Now I need to darken in here, so I'm actually going to sweep a tiny bit of black and a tiny bit of that chrome over the top as well. I'm going to mix all three underneath there. That's great, so you can mix them off camera, I say, so off to one side and then bring them onto your, like, so mix it like mixing paints basically. You can then bring them onto your support, or you can mix them on your support itself. And if you sweep them up, so say here I sweep up, say, the black first, and then some of that green. When I place it down, it will go down initially as green, but then it will darken because the black was the first colour that I picked up, so it will be the last residue to go down. So this initial layer is going to be really dark because it's all the small circles on top that are going to bring the colour forwards. So I'm going to carry on just filling in this space using the two dark greens and the black, and then I'll speed up whilst I do that and come back to you when we're ready to start adding in our bokeh effect. Okay. Okay, so I've got a nice coverage down all over now. So what I'm going to do is, before I come on to using our tool, I'm going to use the roundness of this sponge first of all. Just to go in and start to pick up a couple of different colours. So I've got the bright yellow green shade and also the chrome oxide green shade, which are this one and this one. I'm just going to start to pick up both and just start to come in. Just use that roundness of our sponge to start creating some shapes, some big nice rounded shapes within. This will just start to break it up, and then we'll come in over the top with, you can see there it's almost starting to create that lovely bokeh effect for us already. That's how simple it is. It's really, get my reference photo back up, it's gone off the screen. So just picking up those two. Now I'm going to start just picking up that one. That's the thing about this, is it needs to be each circle sort of like an offset of the previous circle. So hints of the same colour in there. So that's breaking up really nicely now. Now, do I risk coming in with the next bright one? No. I'm sticking mainly now to that bright yellow green shade, just popping a few more hints of that one in over the top. Okay, so now I need to pick up, because we've got those big circles, but I'm going to go in now with this tool. So I just need to balance my pastels off to one side. And I'll recap on the colours that I use. Let's go for the biggest circle. I'm also going to come in there with a smaller tool. I'm going to use the art bar now. So let's start to place some of these circles a little bit more. So I come in here, lay this down, press it down nice and flat, and we're just going to come in and start to dab into there. I might actually need to use my thicker sponge, my bigger sponge rather, but we'll see how we get on. Okay. That's fine. So it's quite deep, this is actually, so I think if I could, obviously I bought this online, so I didn't know how thick it was going to be, so I'm having to push pastel in. But same as before, I'm just using the sponge and pushing it in. And I'm going to bring in the next light shade up here and just put in a few little dabs. And we're going to start to build on this now. So again, if you haven't got one of these tools, you can just cut out a circle and some card and use that. And we work dark to light, so we get brighter with each circle that goes down. And you want the circle to be a little mottled as well. And again, we're just going for the effect. So don't make it exactly like the reference, but we want to achieve that effect. Circle coming in from off the edge. You should start to see this bokeh starting to form anyway. So I'm going to come in and just carry on filling these circles. Really soft ones up here, almost like hints of them. Another partial one here. Okay, so I'm going to carry on doing this now, just using that green, and then I'll move on up to the next one I'm going to be working with is the Handsy Yellow shade, which is the brighter one here. I'm going to be using these two. And then we'll come in, there's a couple of blues got to go in. We'll touch back into the centre of these. There's a little hint of like an ochre in some of them as well. So I'm going to speed up again now, and I'll come back when I've got this whole area worked with those two greens. So I'm starting to move up now. You'll notice as well I was turning the guide around, the stencil around as I was working, and starting to use different size holes as well. So, and I'm not filling, like I say, some areas I'm filling the whole hole, some of them I'm not. We start now to get our overlaps. So I'm going to start to come in here now with slightly smaller holes, and I've turned my sponge around, so I'm starting to use the clean ends now, using the next shade up, which was the more yellow one. So I'm going to start to get this in now. If it starts to blend too much with the previous layer, just pick up some more and get it in there. Okay, so I'm still varying the size of the hole. Being quite selective, like so I'm looking at the reference as well. I know I said use it as a guide, but I am. I do love the effect that the reference has got, so try and get my placement quite good. I'm trying to follow the colours that I see in the reference. So what about getting some of the edges down, a bit like a bubble. Yeah, it's starting to look really nice. Starting to see a head, so I know what's coming. So let's just start to get some edges and hints of these bubbles as well. Don't want all of them to be complete. So when you first put the pastel down into there, it goes in really nice bright colour, but then obviously as you move it around, it starts to mix with colours that you've got down in there before. You start to lose some of that brightness, but that's okay, so we're going to be coming in with brighter colours over the top again anyway, just to lighten some places. Okay, let's get one of these over here. It's almost instantly literally after just a few tabs, we lose that shape. Right, a couple of small ones up here. Tiny bit bigger than that. Let's go with that one in here. Okay, this one might just go off screen for you, bear with me there. Okay, a couple more small ones just in here. And then we're going to move on to using our next shade up as well. I might just put that one blue one in there, but blue one needs to go in with the white, so I might just hold off for a second. I just want to soften up this area here just by popping in. Maybe I'll go in with a more green one and slightly bigger as well. There we go. Let me just see if I can pop in more green one there. And kind of blend it with underneath just so it breaks up a little bit. Same up here. Maybe just a hint of a we need to go back in there with our dark, just to get rid of that. We'll come in with our soft tool later on as well, just to enhance some of the darks around the circular shapes. But that on screen is looking really nice. So a couple more up here. What kind of size? Quite small ones actually. I'm going to need to use the other side of my sponge bar in a minute. Okay, top corner, right, I'm going to go in there with the green, just again, just to kind of soften some of this. Don't actually like that one very much. I have to take that one back out again. Didn't quite like him. I could probably sink another one over the top. Let's not pick up the more of a greeny yellow. I'll cut through that one. I didn't like that one though. so I need just some hints of some bottom edges of some overlaps. Maybe that just needs to be a little bit more. Okay, really liking this. Now, smaller line here. Okay, so we're going to move on up now to our next light. So I've pulled out Hansa yellow tint, which is quite a light palish yellow. So I'm going to come in now and just start to lighten up even more. I've also pulled out as well, just in a couple of places, there's like an orangey tint. So I've got the burnt sienna tint and also burnt sienna. So I've got burnt sienna and burnt sienna tint. And I've also lifted out a chrome oxide green tint. I know we used the chrome oxide green dark shade on the other areas, so we're just using the same colours, just in different shades. So let's come in here first of all, flip my sponge over and let's see if we can get a mix. I'm mixing this the Hansa yellow tint with the Hansa yellow shade. So as you see, it's the same colours that I pull out, it's just lighter versions of them. So let's get that one in there. Now to me that has just gone too light, so I'm going to bring in some of the yellow shade over the top again. And to be honest, it's gone a little bit too light even for me. So let's go back over. Okay, that's a bit better. Went too light too quickly. We've got hints. So what I've done, this is going to look quite shocking if I show you this colour that I'm using. Switch now to this super bright, almost like fluorescent green, and that is the bright yellow green. The tint was just way too light, but I've used it in there as a bit of a base and gone in over the top. So I'm going to use some of that really bright yellow green in a few places now, just as a bit of an overlap, and we'll see what we get. So I managed to get it down. almost on the outer edges of that circle there. And in a few places I'm going to put it in pretty much the whole of the circle. You can see the dust is just falling off my sponge a little bit, which I'm not liking. Softening the edges a little bit there. It's going to wipe off as well. It looks like I'm laying this down. It's picking up some of the residue. I'm just wiping off giving it on a bit of a clean. Okay, so let's carry on with this bright green yellow in places. Blow off any excess. Now we need to come in over the top. I'm going to do a 2 or 3 of that shade interlinked, just gently. It's almost like bubbles linking. Could do with almost like a stamp to put these down. That's what I want, that sort of that overlap effect. So let's carry on now and see if we can get that effect in a few other places. And again, I'm going to have to keep wiping this off now after each use, because as you can see it's starting to leave these little trails, which is quite nice. I'm going to use them to my advantage and keep them in places, but I don't want them everywhere. It's nice to be able to control them a little bit more. Wipe off. So I'm going to come in here with my soft tool, just get rid of any of those marks that I don't want. Okay, so let's come up here, wipe off, keep forgetting to wipe off, and that's when I get those residues. Press down. And you can see there all that dust that's fallen in that, which is not what we want. See if I can pick it up again. So I'm going to carry on there with that bright yellow green and work it all around here, and then I'm going to move up hopefully to that handsy yellow light tint as well and start to place some of that in places. So I'm going to speed up again and come back to you when we should be quite close to the finish. And so a little bit of the ochre to go in here and a touch of blue up there as well. Okay, so I'm going to come in next with some of these light tints. So I've got the chrome, oxide green tints, and also, I'll try it again, I've got the handsy yellow tint. There's also a small touch of burnt sienna that I'm going to pop in. Let's pop that burnt sienna in first. Let's just see if I've got a sponge tool. I'm going to try it with a sponge tool, just see if we can get a little touch in. Just a little hint of it over here. So let's see if I can get this. Just a little hint coming in here. It kind of mixes with that tint. Soft tool's not liking doing the job that I'm asking it to do there. needs to be softened. No, the next one that we've got is the Handsy Yellow shade, which is one of the bright ones that we've been using. So I'm going to have to mix the two. Let's pick up both and see what we get as a mix of the two. Let's clean off my stencil. And we should be good to go. So let's have a look. So it just goes in there way too dark. Sorry, too light. Now I've got a mark. Where's that white mark come from? A little bit of tissue. Okay, so that's now coming out too green because it's mixing. Touch. So I'm just playing around with the colours until I get just what I want. Just put in a tiny touch of the burnt sienna tint there as well now. Closer. See, this needs to be a little bit more opaque. So I'm going to come into the centre, just soften the centre out. The same in here. Soften part of that. So you kind of get the idea of what I'm doing anyway, so I'm going to carry on. And we'll soften the centre each time, just by blending with what's there underneath. There's a little hint of the sienna in this. I'm just adding a touch in there and just blending it through. See, it's just giving quite a harsh line around the edges. That's much smoother and softer. I'll do some smaller ones as well. Let's come down in size again. I just want some mirroring that as well, so let me just around that bottom edge. That's it. Hardly putting any pigment down on here now, just a little sweep. missed out the bottom edge of that one. Just smooth that off. I need to pop a little bit of yellow in there as well. So I'm looking at each one now, I'm just creating each one individually now as well. So I'm going to I just want to mix up the tones that are within each one. Finding less pigment is better. Let's go up here for some really, a couple of little small ones. Take off the excess. Okay. I do want it quite bright in a couple of them, so I am going to have to just go with the fact that it's bright and just see what it balances out like at the end. I'm taking off any excess now, just down the side, because I do need a nice brightish one in here. And then I'll touch up the centres. Let's clean off a smallish one here. And a touch of the green in the centre again. Okay, so the final stage here, all I've done is I've took away the stencil tool now, I've taken that one away, and I'm just going in with one of my bar sponges. You can do it with any of the sponges, any of the tools, or even with your finger, and all I was just doing there was just softening some of the edges. A brush would probably work quite well as well, but just cleaning it off. So here, couple more little touches. I'm not really using any fresh pastel here, I'm just moving some of it around just to create slightly softer lines to some of those circles. You don't want them solid colour all the way through, so I'm just adding like a little touch of colour, a little tint just up in one area, one side of the sphere, rather than the circle, rather than covering the whole area inside the circle equally with the pastel. But again, just smoothing some of the areas, pop in a little bit more dark behind some of those shadow areas to really sink the recess back if you need to. Just vary the size of the circles that you're putting down with that little tool. So I hope you've enjoyed that video, and it'll give you an idea. Just play with the PanPastels, don't be afraid of them. So if you did enjoy the video and you haven't yet subscribed on my YouTube and you're watching it on there, please do hit that button. Thank you for watching.